Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of NHLN Opinion Plus, a new weekly series coming at you every Friday. This is a space for our opinions where we talk about current events and questions the Latino community is curious to know. Today, we are joined by Chief Information Officer and Commissioner of the New Hampshire Department of Information Technology, Denis Goulet. Commissioner Goulet was first appointed in 2015 and then reconfirmed for a second four-year term in May 2019. He is also the president of the National Association of State Chief Information Officers. Welcome, Commissioner Goulet, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here.
We're excited to have you, so we'll jump in. In an interview with Government Technology last year, you mentioned that the Department of Information Technology would focus on improving customer service to New Hampshire residents and businesses and make the department's digital resources more user-friendly for folks outside of the government. Could you expand on what that process of improving customer service would look like?
Well, it starts with us as the Department of Information Technology understanding that our primary role is serving the citizens, although we do it through the implementation of technology. So having that mindset in our department really helps a lot. And so that's something I've been pushing real hard. In fact, our mission statement really talks about our service to citizens, not our service to government per se. But additionally, what we've really tried to do is help our peers in the state who deliver the services understand that our digital government assets, those are the assets that we project out to serve citizens digitally, need to be focused on what our citizens care about versus what we think is good. So one of the things I like to tell people is our opinion about whether our websites or an application or any of those things that we would project out to citizens, our opinion on that doesn't really matter. It's the folks that have to use its opinion that really matters. So, that a mindset is everything with respect to, delivery of services. And then, of course, sometimes we need money to get things done, and we did seek and get a capital appropriation to do digital government work. Pardon me, during this biennium was really helpful. That work that we did was really helpful as we went into COVID because we had to stand up a lot of new services and new capabilities, and some of the work we had done prior to that really prepared us to react quickly and deliver for our citizens in New Hampshire.
That is great. Do you think that there's been a greater push for making online services more friendly because of the pandemic, as you mentioned, since most people and businesses have had to transition online to remote operations?
Yes. Because we've had to transition a lot of services online, it really has placed a higher demand on that, particularly in the area of unemployment insurance, where we've seen unprecedented volumes. But also, our Governor Sununu did show great leadership in setting the expectations that we even during the pandemic, that we are very citizen focused, very focused on delivery of services, not just but quickly, and having that strong customer service attitude and strong customer service delivery capability. One of the things we found, and in fact many states have found, was helpful in getting information out to people was using AI chatbot technology, which really it's done well, can help answer a lot of questions more easily than say waiting in line in a queue for to speak to a live body on the phone. Although we always want to offer that phone option for any of our services, particularly in during the early parts of the pandemic, we saw very high volumes of calls for unemployment insurance as well as things like testing and contact tracing.
Okay, gotcha. In the same interview, you mentioned involving citizens within the process of adjusting these online services. Has your department begun this yet, and what would that involve?
Well, it really involves a couple things. One is that we'd like to listen carefully to the feedback that we get on our websites with respect to what we've offered. We also listen carefully to our citizens when they call into call centers, and that helps us to understand whether we're delivering well. So, for example, in the early pandemic stages, we were hearing some things about how we could do better in the unemployment insurance space. We actually set up very quickly a microsite in the employment security division to help us better align our communication of services with what our citizens were expecting.
I'm going to move on to a new subject. The Pew Research Center, they had a study in 2019 that found 57% of Hispanic adults owned a computer or laptop compared to 82% of white people surveyed. And according to a survey this past spring by Somos, almost 40% of U.S. Latino households did not have broadband internet access. With the goal of improving customer service include increasing accessibility among residents to these digital resources, or how could the department navigate this?
Well, one big way is to make sure that all of our digital government assets are accessible, no matter what platform you're using. And so, there's some strong evidence that the number of folks accessing digital government resources from mobile devices versus PCs is going up proportionally. And so we want to make sure that we align with and deliver on accessibility standards, both in terms of what device you may be accessing with, what amount of broadband you may or may not have, as well as delivering from a perspective of somebody who's handicapped who might be accessing our digital government properties as well. So we just went through a process of redesigning all the tools that we use to build out our websites so that we're up to the latest accessibility standards, and I think that really will help us a lot. And we're going to keep adapting that too as accessibility standards evolve. We want to we have a platform that should allow us to evolve with them and do a better job. So everything's automatic. All of the new capabilities we stood up for interfacing with citizens on the health side during COVID were all automatically adaptive technology, so that we didn't have to do things twice. And that's the same thing for our web properties. All the stuff that we stood up to add to our citizen services capabilities was all adaptive technology from moment one.
Okay, that's amazing that it's a focus within your department. It's very important, yeah.
It is.
In the same interview mentioned earlier, you said cybersecurity was a priority of the departments, along with the National Association of State Chief Information Officers. During your time as commissioner, you have updated the state cyber contingency plan, partnered with Homeland Security and Emergency Management to introduce a state cyber integration center. Could you talk about any significant changes made to the state cyber contingency plan, and then expand on how the cyber integration center protects the local government and residents?
Well, thank you. In the National Association of State CIOs, or NASCIO, each year does a survey of the state CIOs, looking for what our top 10 priorities are. And so this year, once again, cybersecurity was the #1 priority. That's 7 straight years. Cybersecurity has been the #1 priority of state CIOs, according to the NASCIO survey. One of the things I like to say is there's no I in cyber. Doing a good job protecting citizen data, and now protecting citizen services with the advent of ransomware. It's important that we all team up together to make things happen. So that's a big part of it. So when we look at teaming with the emergency management folks, we're looking at we're good on the technology side. The emergency management folks are really good at planning and incident management. So, that those two skills put together may put us in much better shape. And we also work closely with the National Guard in New Hampshire. Their cyber warriors are a great asset, have been a great asset to us in a number of ways to help us improve our cyber posture. You asked about our cyber disruption plan. Really, at the heart of things, a cyber disruption plan is a roadmap that helps people understand who's going to be involved and what their roles will be in the event of a cyber disruption of some sort. So really important that we're not meeting each other and start trying to figure out how we're going to operate in the middle of a crisis. So the version that we have now is our second version. It's evolved quite a bit. One of the things we did this time is we got outside help to build it out, and we involved many agency partners, as well as folks from outside, higher education, private industry, critical infrastructure like energy companies, things like that. And of course, we involved the emergency management folks and the Guard as well. So the quality of that document is pretty high, I think. You did ask about what we're doing with respect to protecting our political subdivisions, towns, cities, and county governments. Really around the country, those entities have been plagued with and victimized by ransomware over the last year and a half or so. And when we look at the situation in New Hampshire and in most of the country, we see that these entities don't really often don't have a strong cyber posture. They often don't have money to invest in improving their cyber posture. So, of course, getting help from the outside, whether it's state or federal help, is important. One of the things that we're working on now is some legislation in New Hampshire that would suggest using CIS controls inside of our political subdivisions in New Hampshire. And then, when you adapt or adopt, I should say, a set of controls, then you can measure yourself against a national standard like the CIS controls. Is really good because it's comprehensive. It's also pretty simple to understand. The other thing we're doing is we're seeking some Homeland Security grant money. I hope will be awarded. And what we would do with that money would be to build out a cyber disruption plan template for our political subdivisions, so that they could very easily create a cyber disruption plan for their town, city, or county government. And the way we would design that template was it would feed into ours, the statewide one, so that should an entity have a problem like a ransomware attack or exfiltration of data, whatever, we would be able to interoperate very quickly and easily based on that planning. So those are some of the things we're working on. Of course, we're trying to do all of that on a really, really tight budget, and that's true all around the country.
Right. That's amazing. That's a lot of progress within your term. I'm curious, with the sharp increase of daily online operations across the country, is cybersecurity a greater concern in any way, do you believe?
Yes, very much so. We've seen a large increase in probing and attacks on our digital assets. So we're very concerned, both in terms of, I think our enemies using COVID-19 disruption as a vector for deceiving people into giving up their information and thereby having success, whether it's ransomware or actually stealing money from people. So big concern all around the country. Also with the elections, we always see a big increase in harmful cyber activity around elections, and this time was no exception. Now, during the early parts of the pandemic, our emergency operations folks activated the Emergency Operations Center 7 days a week. And with the Emergency Support Function 17, which is cyber, when you're fully activated, the cyber portion of that is activated. So we were actually on duty every day of the week during the early parts of the pandemic, and so much so that we actually had to seek National Guard help. So I want to do a big call out, shout out to our National Guard cyber warriors in New Hampshire who helped us out during the early parts of COVID, both in terms of adding tooling and expertise to help us defend our data and our operations against our enemies, but also helping us man the Emergency Operations Center 7 days a week.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much for talking with us, Commissioner Goulet, and for being our guest on NHLN Opinion Plus. We really enjoyed having this time to talk to you.
Well, it was great to be able to talk to you as well, and I hope you all stay safe and well.
Thank you so much. You as well. Tune in next week for another episode. Follow us on Twitter at NH Latino News and Instagram at NH_Latino News. I'm Belen Dumont with NHLN Opinion Plus. See you next time.